The album is called Mind Over Matter. At at what point in the process did this title come up?
I think the name for the record, Mind Over Matter, Mind Over Matter itself, the term was an early term that we'd started using. We wrote a song actually for the record called Mind Over Matter, and it's I think the next single that's going to be pushed in Holland and the next single that's going to be pushed in the States. And it was a big turning point for us as a band because I think we'd experienced a bit of a writer's block. There was a bit of like this internal pressure that we'd made for ourselves to not, to write the same type of music. I don't think we were thinking about success in those lines. I think we were just thinking about making a difference and doing something different and putting our name on the, spot, so we can be somewhere in music history. And I think we were thinking about so many grand and big things that it was really hard to do those things. And I think we realized that in order to really actually get those things done, you just have to meditate and not really worry about so many of those things. I think we had several different options for the album title, and all of them I guess just didn't seem to make as much sense as Mind Over Matter at the end because it was such a big part of the creation process for us.
Do you remember that turning point then when this realization came that you shouldn't overthink things?
I don't think it was like a switch went on, but I think we just kind of got a little bit of confidence when we wrote Mind Over Matter, and we were just really proud of what we'd created together. And it was also, we approached the songwriting a little differently. We really laid it, like it was like, you go into the studio for a little bit and add this, and then someone else would go in and we kind of just put Lego pieces together, and then we had this creation. We started showing it to friends and family and everyone connected with it, so it kind of gave us a little bit of confidence and maybe boosted our deflated egos a little bit because we were kind of just feeling the pressure of writing a second record. And I think that kind of after that we opened the floodgates and we wrote a couple more songs, and people were getting excited in our camp of like friends and family and management and label, and that was just like, and then after that the rest of the record came really easily.
So that song definitely functioned as a cornerstone, so to say.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, and the stuff that we'd done before that too was great. A lot of the stuff that we wrote before that point ended up making the record. I think it was just our idea of it. We are our toughest critics, and we always, just weren't, we were always looking for something wrong with it. I think it was when we started not thinking about it as much and realizing that there was something important in the songs as well. That also gave us an ego boost, just being able to look back on the stuff that we'd done already and say that, hey, this is actually pretty good.
This might be just the same question as before, but can you identify what made it easier to look at it this way? Not to tinker with everything, not to overthink, not to revisit the song 100 times. Do you know why it changed?
I think for us the turning point was luckily a portion of the way through the writing process. And at this time we'd pretty much isolated ourselves completely. We were just living in this house, and the only people that we would see were our families and our girlfriends and whoever came to the house, because the house was so far away from anything. And luckily halfway through we went on a little tour. We started playing shows again for about a week and a half, and we started playing some of the new material and started playing to the fans again. And I think that was an important thing to understand, that we had this audience that we had already connected with, and we had like a relationship with them. And it kind of made it more than just being us stuck in our own heads. That was a part of it, most definitely.
And how did the fans react to the new material? Do you remember?
I think they're liking it so far. It's been interesting to see different demographics react to the songs differently. Like we played in Paris the other day and we played a song Eros, and the crowd just jived and got with it straight away. And in other places that song maybe didn't connect in that respect. So it's been really interesting just to see how people receive the music and move, and it's different everywhere. I mean, some people sing along to one song and then others to another.
Yeah, it's a very eclectic record. I think there's a little bit for everyone on the record.
Well, I would say sonically it's a a little bit fuller and a little bit, yeah, there's a little bit more going on. And I was wondering, what was the role of Justin Meldal-Johnson in this?
Well, we had these, when we were writing the record, like writing the demos, we'd brought all these new like synthesizers and guitar pedals and toys, and after seeing so many bands over the last 3 years of touring on the first record, we'd been inspired in a lot of ways, very much sonically as well as a songwriter. And we had all these like great ambitions to create soundscapes and tones that weren't on the first record. And Justin was the correct choice for us in our eyes, because he was so malleable in his knowledge of like palettes of color, like sound and color, and like he was able to give us the kind of the education we needed to create the sounds we had in our head or had a reference for, and he was really good at that. We would be like, I want this to sound like this, and the delay to decay, and he'd be like, well, you do it like this, and he would show us, and that was really good because it was like going to boot camp for us. We kind of just all learned how to use a synthesizer a lot better, and also learned just like different techniques of putting guitar layers on things and drum beats and bit crushes and all these new kind of toys that we'd not had a chance to play with. And Justin was just really good at relaying his knowledge and kind of holding our hands through our little exploration.
And in hindsight then, with this in mind, how do you look back at the previous album? Do you feel that those elements were still missing, or was it just a sign of the times then?
I think, as with any song or record, is just a stamp in time as where we were as people and as musicians. I listen to the first record and I hear myself as my 19-year-old self recording a record. I was like young and still trying to figure everything out, and not as confident, but there's also an innocence to it, which is really important. And then I listened to the second one, and it's very ambitious, and we're trying to achieve all these things. And hindsight, maybe I'm like, wow, we tried maybe a little bit too much, but it's all good. I think that's what's beautiful about music, is it's generally just a good documentation of where an artist is in that period of time. And I don't think you should ever look back on something and regret it. I mean, it's just a watermark of where you're at.
Okay. Well, I understand that the writing process is very democratic. In terms of the lyrics, is that the case as well?
Yeah, it can be. I write a good portion of the lyrics. You know, I take that part with me. But you know, when there are certain ideas, or if someone has an idea for a chorus line or a verse line, you know, and I like it, you know, and we all like it together, then you know, we use that, obviously. So it's kind of you work through it, you know.
I read somewhere that literature was quite an influence, especially on the last record. Can you describe in what way?
Yeah, I think literature is a little bit different than lyricism traditionally, you know. Lyricism is a lot like poetry, and it's about, you know, the writer's style, almost more than what's being said. And the narrative can be very, very opaque. It doesn't have to make too much sense. And that was a big part of, and still is a big part of my lyricism in a lot of ways. And when I first started writing lyrics for the first record, and before that, it was just kind of that initial spark of creativity. But with fiction writing, it's so creative, but you still have to be very on it in terms of the story and what it is that's being said. And I like the idea of being someone that can perceive things and be like an objective person that's seeing these things happen around them, and not just the person that everything is happening to.
Can you give me just a couple of examples of the kind of literature that would inspire you?
I think one of the most powerful books for me was Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoi. It was a big one because he was able to craft such a huge world that was, you know, very realistic in a lot of ways, and he didn't cop out and use any magic or some random mystery to explain anything. Everything made sense, you know, like life would actually make sense. And I was fascinated by creating such a realistic world within a piece of art.
Okay, finally, I've written down one piece of lyric. It's from some anagram. It's life is a riddle, not a game of dice. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, have you figured out the riddle, or is there no answer?
I think, well, I think in the song, you know, the beginning is, you know, the cautionary man's tale, the guy who has too much to lose, and not so much to gain, and so he doesn't see the point in risking himself or doing anything out of the ordinary. And then when you actually reach the bridge, you know, the lines are, you know, come on, baby, roll the dice. You know, just life is a game of dice. It just sometimes you have to throw it, and you can try and figure out the riddle, but you know, it could be many, many different things.